Welcome back to Pokemon. Excuse my gross nasally voice, but I have a bit of a head cold this week. This is the series where I draw Fakemon for my very own fan-made Pokemon region, Trapor. Last time we traversed Route 1 on our way north and encountered the Route 1 bird Pokemon and the Pikachu clone. We also had our first rival battle. Actually, if I remember right, we left right off in the middle of it, in our battle with Tobias. As following his starter Pokemon, he also has a brand new monster up his sleeve. I am really proud of this one. I had this idea a little while back of doing a dragonfly line that eventually becomes a real dragon, and I'm really pleased with how it came out. This stage is based on a nymph, which is the larval form of a dragonfly. And its name, Warmpa, is in my opinion really super clever. Just hear me out. The first syllable comes from two terms. One is worm, which is a way that a lot of people describe larval bugs, and the other term is worm, as in the synonym for a dragon. And the last part of the name is pupa, which is a form of a developing insect. It would be a plain bug type for now and have the strong jaw ability in reference to water bugs, as they look and act very similar to dragonfly nymphs. Its shiny form reflects the true colors of the animal that it's based on. Warmpa, the nymph Pokemon. This Pokemon spend the early parts of their lives around shallow bodies of water. They use their underdeveloped wings and their buoyant feet pads to skitter across the surface. They are skittish of people and have a painful bite in store for any who may step in the wrong place on the riverbed. Tobias's Warmpa is at level 7 and has the moveset of Bug Bite and Screech. After our battle with our rival, he explains that he is a new trainer from a city called Uport, who had come this way to battle the gym leader of Reefsea Town, and spent some time in the forest to catch some powerful Pokemon. He says although you beat him, you have no communication with your Pokemon, and that you should challenge the gym there, if you ever intend to improve. Well, he isn't very nice, is he? Anyway, we continue north into the jungle. This place is called the Brangle Forest. Its name is a portmanteau of the words bramble and strangle, as this forest is known for its low-hanging brambles and its light choking canopy. As this forest is the home of Warmpa, it seems like a good time to go over Warmpa's two evolutions. Drake Insect is the second form of Warmpa, and it is of course a dragonfly. It was difficult to not make it look like Yanma Yanmega, but since the concept is so different, Drake Insect comes from the root words of Draco for both the dragon and dragonfly part of its inspiration, and insect, as right now it's far more insect than it is dragon. I began to darken its green tones, as I wanted the color palette to darken as the line went on, straying more into the blue sides of the greens in its final form, as opposed to the more yellow hue of Warmpa. Drake Insect, the dragonfly Pokemon in the evolved form of Warmpa. Although it has lost its potent bite, it has gained the ability to fly. It goes after smaller insect Pokemon and is responsible for keeping the numbers of invasive species in the region down. Dracovern's name comes from Draco, the same root as the previous form, and Vern, as it is built like a wyvern, with the wings attached to the front legs. I tried to give its color a more blue-tinted green, but that didn't really work super well. What I ended up doing was going with a darker shade of the same green color, and using that to separate the more uninteresting aspects of the design. Although its color didn't technically change between the two forms, it did allow for a darkening palette if viewed from afar, which is exactly what I was going for. Dracoburn, the dragonfly Pokemon in the evolved form of Draconsect. Mainly due to its size, this Pokemon's diet has widely diversified. It not only eats insect Pokemon like Probito, but also some species of small aquatic Pokemon like Wishiwashi. Dracovern, although difficult to train, have become very popular in recent years, as they can carry multiple people on their backs at a time. Walking deeper along the forest paths, we can encounter more Pokemon in the long grass, like Warmpa, Weedle, Spinarak, and our next bug-type Pokemon. So this line is based on mosquitoes, because surprisingly there isn't a mosquito Pokemon yet. Well, except for that one, but it doesn't. It was going to be a bug and poison type Pokemon initially, because that was the first thing that came to mind when I thought of a mosquito Pokemon. But the more I thought about it, there's nothing remotely poisonous about mosquitoes. I mean, they can give you diseases, but they're not venomous themselves. The typing became clear once I gave them their ability. In Season 1 of Pokepaint, I made a vampire squid Pokemon that were actually vampires, and I made a new ability for them that strengthens draining-based moves, as well as makes them stronger in the moonlight. Maboscus, and its evolution, would have this ability. Since the vampire Pokemon was a dark type, it made too much sense to make it a bug and dark type. Maboscus gets its name from the words maggot and proboscis, the needle-like mouth of a mosquito. This Pokemon is based off of course, the larval form of a mosquito, but with the proboscis already present. Maboscus, the larval Pokemon. Although they were once thought to be bloodsuckers, they are actually quite harmless. Their proboscis is far too soft to pierce skin. They only eat plant matter, and on top of that, this widely considered gross bug is, ironically, quite gentle in temperament. Probito is the final form of Maboscus, and is, of course, the mosquito Pokemon. I played around with a middle form that was cocoon-like to keep the tradition of very metamorphosis-focused regional bug Pokemon, but I really felt like my rough sketches of that form was just another one of those place-filler Pokemon that wasted space in the Pokedex. It took me a little bit to develop a well-proportioned body type for the honestly quite bizarre shape of a mosquito. One thing that I thought was a cool idea was basing the blood pouch on the beaker, I don't know if beaker is the right word, the beaker of a syringe. And so I added many non-organic shapes to really push that. The rest of the body was relatively plain, in the form that it's just a mosquito. The liquid in its blood sac would of course not really be blood, as this is Pokemon, so I came up with the idea that this Pokemon is malicious, but it has a sweet tooth for like fruit juices and whatever. Yeah, that makes total sense. Its name comes from proboscis and mosquito. Probito, the draining Pokemon in the evolved form of Maboscus. Probito are an all too well known annoyance in the Trapor region. In ancient times, there was a legend that they drank people's blood when they're not looking. The true explanation, however, seems far more sci-fi. This Pokemon drains the energy of people and Pokemon around it, therefore making people grow tired in their presence, and in some cases they become sick. The liquid in its sac has actually recently been proven to be fruit juice, of all things, and often appears red because of their affinity for raspberries. The sugars in these berries give this Pokemon enough energy to where it won't suck the life force of people around it. So if you dare to train one, it's not a bad idea to keep a well-stocked bag of berries on hand. So now that we've added 5 more Pokemon to the Dex, it's pretty appropriate that we've come to the end of the forest path. And we exit into Reefsea Town. The town's name squishes down the word Reefside, as it is a beach town right above a coral reef. This town is based on the real-life Trunk Bay on St. John, which isn't really much of a town, more like an assortment of shacks on a beach. So pretty much a one-for-one of the real place. Here on the beach, you run into none other than your rival Tobias, and the gym leader, who is, well, you'll have to wait and see next time. I had to do it to you. I kind of really like these cliffhangers, and although they definitely won't be at the end of every episode, I can guarantee that I do like doing them, and every so often it makes it a little more fun for me. If you remember last time, I'll be keeping track of my own team as we go, so here it is. I heavily encourage you all to comment which Pokemon you would catch below, and if you want to download the PNG versions of each of these Fakemon, you can find them on my DeviantArt page. They're absolutely free, so go nuts. So I'll see you in like 2 weeks for the next episode, and hopefully by then I'll have gotten over this cold. As always, if you like what you see and you want to see more like it, then subscribe and turn on the bell to get notified when I upload next.